Thank you so much for joining us for our Korean War Veterans Memorial Ceremony. I have a tip for you. You know, our program makes great fans, so if you're hot, maybe you can do this. But thank you again for joining us. I'm Sela Kim from Channel 6 WDSU. I've been hosting this ceremony for the last couple of years. It's such an honor and joy to be here. I interviewed Mr. Ford Cade earlier this week because we did a preview on our newscast about honoring the local Korean War veterans. And I remember he told me when he was fighting the war in Korea, 1950 to 1953, the temperature was so cold, it was brutal. He said 30 degrees below zero or 40 degrees below zero. So I thought of that today as I was driving here. It's so hot, and I thought, Sela, you can sit in the sun a little bit when I think about the suffering and the service and the sacrifice you gentlemen made for Korea and for freedom. I can sit in the sun for just a little bit. So please bear with us. It's going to be a great program, and it's our joy and honor to thank you and recognize you for your service. So without further ado, we're going to move on with our program. Please stand for the presentation of colors and anthems.
Thank everyone for coming, all my great veterans and my Korean friends and Americans. Here we go. Here we're going to start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. And thanks to everyone for coming. And I know it's hot. It was hot in Korea too, but we all got through it. Thank you.
Ready. Right. Face. Forward. Up.
Thank you so much, Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office Color Guards. Now it is my pleasure to introduce to you. Oh, please be seated. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce to you Colonel Ted Wong. He will read the words of the poem in this program. It's at the back of your program.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a poem by Sergeant Ronald Paul Rochelle. Sitting right here. If you think, Paul, it's an honor to read this poem today to everybody in commemoration of this event. Thank you. You define Semper Fi. You were all so young when you died. And with all my honesty, to this day, I never knew why. All of my life, I have been haunted as to why it was you and not I. As God is my witness, you define Semper Fi. I saw you this very morning at 2 a.m. You awakened me from my sleep, screaming for help. But as hard as I try, I can never reach you. Perhaps it's because you look down from your place so high. I know you are seated at the right hand of God. You define Semper Fi. From my same dream, I am an old man in the mirror of life. I questioned him carefully through a nervous cry. Why were they all so young when they died? Why was it them and not I? I recognized the old man as myself, and I was shocked with his reply. Oh, you fool, do you not know why? They were so much greater than you and I. They were picked by God to define Semper Fi. There are those who tell me that because of war I am cursed. I tell them I saw some give it all up for a few years after their birth. Those who tell me I must forgive, I just ignore. Do you not see? I must live with their memory all the days of my life. Because all they were the ones who made it the supreme sacrifice. I was fortunate enough to have known them in their time of strife. They were the heroes enough to have been picked by God to define Semper Fi. I know that in the twilight of my fall, I can live with it all, because once upon a time, in the prime of my youth, I knew a few good men who in honor stood tall. They are the few and the proud, and I have known, who made the sacrifice and answered the call. As I live, I will always have their picture in my mental file, because they alone who were picked by God to define Semper Fi. Thank you, Sergeant Ronald Paul Rochelle, for this poem.
Thank you, Colonel Wong and Mr. Rishu, for that poem. Next, I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Hae Kwon Lee. He is the president of the Korean American Association of Greater New Orleans.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to Korean War Memorial Service. We thank you the Korean War veterans and families, supporters, and friends of veterans and Korean families, and distinguished guests for joining us today. My name is Hae Kwon Lee. I am a new president of Korean American Association of Greater New Orleans. Although we have to skip the service last year due to COVID pandemic, I'm very happy to greet you this year. This year, we decided to hold the Korean War Memorial Service to the date of signing of the amnesty on July 27, 1953. This signing stopped the fighting, but did not officially end the war. Today, we remember the veterans that died during the war, as well as those who came home and has passed away. We honor all of you veterans sitting here today. We thank you for the service you have given in most harsh circumstance of all the Korean people. Because of your sacrifice, South Korea is democratically country and economically 12th richest country in the world. And may God bless you always, and may God bless America, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hae Kwon Lee. Now it is my honor to introduce to you the Honorable Min-koo Kang. He's the Consul of the Korean Consulate General in Houston.
Hello, everyone. It is my honor to attend this commemoration ceremony of 68th armistice, signing of the 68th anniversary of Korean War. My Consul General, Myung-soo An, asked me to deliver his regrets for not being to be able to join you today. So let me read you his message. It is a bit long, but okay. Good evening to all of you on this special day. Some 70 years ago, you went over to Korea to fight back invading North Korea troops, risking your own lives. I'm deeply grateful to each and every one of you. This July 27th marks the 68th anniversary of the Korean War armistice. During the 3 horrific years of the Korean War, America's brave young soldiers banded together with the soldiers of the Republic of Korea and UN coalition forces to fight for our freedom and democracy. Without their commitment and bravery, the Republic of Korea would not be as it stands now. Today, I'd like to express my nation's deepest appreciation to you from the bottom of my heart for your devotion and sacrifice you made. Let me briefly touch upon the meaning of the Korean War. First and foremost, the Korean War was a tremendous tragedy for Korean people. A total of 138,000 South Korean soldiers fell during the war. The number of soldiers injured reached 450,000 and 25,000 went missing. About 1 million civilians were sacrificed and as many as 100,000 children were orphaned. Apart from human casualties, the war dealt a devastating blow to the economic as well. 80% of industrial facilities were destroyed, and assets valued at 2 years of national income at that time were reduced to ashes. However, your sacrifice was by no means in vain. Not forgetting what you have done for us, the Korean people emerged from the ashes of war and built a free, democratic, and prosperous country. Korean people rose up to the challenges and reconstructed their economy. We fostered our light, heavy, chemical, and ICT industries one after another. Korea is writing an unprecedented story of success, becoming an economic powerhouse as the 10th largest economy in the world last year. the sixth largest trading partner of the United States, while ranking sixth in the world for military strength and full-fledged democracy at the same time. This year, Korea was officially invited to the G7 summit held last month in the UK. It shows that Korean people are resilient and can overcome any kind of obstacles in their way. On May 21st this year, President Moon of the Republic of Korea visited Washington, D.C. to hold a summit meeting with President Biden. First of all, the two leaders reaffirmed their commitment to an ironclad alliance as the linchpin for stability and prosperity of the region. They also renewed their commitment to denuclearization and permanent peace on the Korean Peninsula, reviving the momentum for talks with North Korea. The U.S. also expressed its support for inter-Korean cooperation. The two leaders also agreed to forge a comprehensive partnership for a better future in various areas. They agreed to deepen economic cooperation, in particular to increase supply chain resilience in areas of semiconductors and electric vehicle batteries. Korean companies will build manufacturing plants in the U.S. to increase supply in these areas. Korea and U.S. have been cooperating closely in combating COVID-19 pandemic. Against this backdrop, a global vaccine partnership was established between Korea and the U.S., which will combine U.S. vaccine technology with Korea's production capacity to globally address the pandemic. I believe the Korea-U.S. summit in May was a big success, reflecting Korea's enhanced status as a global leader in terms of democracy, economic, and military power, as well as the capacity to deal with global challenges such as COVID-19 pandemic. The most impressive moment of this summit meeting for me personally was the medal award ceremony for 94-year-old Korean War veteran Army Colonel Ralph Puckett Jr. He was awarded the Medal of Honor in the White House for his bravery during the Korean War. It was truly moving to see Colonel Puckett, who was wheelchair-bound, stand on his own to receive the military's highest honor. Just as impressive was the photo op from the ceremony, where the two presidents of Korea and the U.S. were kneeling with the Korean War hero in between. It was symbolic of ironclad alliance between two countries. Indeed, Korean War veterans, you are the rock-solid foundation of our strong alliance and economic partnership we have built together over the last 7 decades. The U.S. was the first country to send troops to Korea. As many as 36,000 American soldiers fell and 7,000 went missing during the Korean War. The Korean War laid the groundwork for the alliance between Korea and the U.S. As you did for the last 70 years, we, Koreans, will stand firmly with the United States side by side, shoulder to shoulder. Once again, I'd like to express my heartfelt gratitude to those who sacrificed in Korea War with their noble and heroic valor to defend freedom, preserve liberty and democracy in Korea. Korean War veterans have well advanced in their age, many of them, like you here, in their 90s. Nevertheless, their proud legacy of dedication and valiant service will remain deeply ingrained in our minds and our history. The people of Korea will make sure that their service and sacrifices will never ever be forgotten. On this special occasion, I wish every one of you health and happiness. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Next, it's my honor to introduce to you Mr. Sean Hanscom. He's from U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy's office, who is the Veterans Outreach Director.
I just want to relay the gratitude of Senator Cassidy for your service and the service of those who you served with in Korea. You've left behind, through that service, a tremendous legacy to South Korea, to the United States. You answered the call to service. And I want you to know that Senator Cassidy is tremendously grateful for that and for the service of every veteran that it lives in Louisiana and is from Louisiana. I want you to also know that we are here to serve you to the extent that we can. No one can ever repay the debt that you paid, or rather the sacrifice that you made for serving in Korea. But what we can do is that if you ever need assistance from us, the Senator is more than happy to serve you, and his staff is more than happy to serve you. I can tell you that he's a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee. He's been very active in making sure that veterans get the health care that they deserve, that mental health for veterans, that those services are available. I can also tell you that Senator Cassidy advocates on behalf of individual veterans if they're having a problem at the VA Medical Center, if they're having a problem, or if they're experiencing a long delay with getting a pension or with getting a disability claim approved. Families who had a veteran pass, if they're trying to have that veteran buried in a military cemetery or get a grave marker. Veterans who need assistance with educational benefits, getting DD-214s, making sure that the honors that they earned, they received, that we are available to help. And so I will be here and at the reception for a while afterwards, just to meet as many of you as possible on behalf of the Senator. And if you need any assistance from us, to let you know who you can call and where you can go. But on behalf of the Senator, most of all, I want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice. We're very grateful for that, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hanscom. Up next is our Ambassador for Peace Medal ceremony. The Ambassador for Peace Medal is given to Korean War veterans by the Korean government, and most of our veterans already received the medal, but there are several who did not receive it, so we will present them with the medal today. May I ask Consul Kong and President Lee to come up to assist with the next step. So please come up as I am reading your name first. Mr. Les Cromwell, U.S. Air Force. And after you get your medal, we would love to take photos with you. So please take a photo and receive your medal. We can give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. Cromwell. It's an honor. Yeah, of course you can have a hug. Of course you can have a hug. Mr. Cromwell has a picture of us from last year. He's collecting annual photos. So we will take pictures at the end of the ceremony too, as we always do. It's such an honor to stand next to brave men. You guys are heroes, so thank you so much. And then up next, Mr. Archie Kaiser, U.S. Navy. Oh, I see. Okay, we're still with Mr. Cromwell. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Cromwell. All right, thank you, Mr. Cromwell, so much. Round of applause for Mr. Cromwell. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Thank each and every one of you. I remembered one thing. When I was 18 years old, I heard a Marine tell some, never ask why, do or die. How many of you Marines remember that? Yeah, just come.
Never ask why, do or die. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And then next is Mr. Archie Kaiser, U.S. Navy. Oh, Mr. Archie Kaiser is not here. Thank you, Mr. Archie Kaiser, for your service and sacrifice. Mr. Victor Richard, Sr., USMC. Let's give Mr. Victor Richard, Sr. a round of applause. Thank you for your service. There's multiple cameras, so please stand for a photo op. Thank you, Mr. Richard. I'm going to get out of the way so he can take photos. Thank you so much, Mr. Richard. God bless you. It really is an honor to recognize your service. This is a joy to recognize your service and love for the country. We love you very much. Up next is Mr. Bob Turner, accepting for his father, Alvin J. Turner, U.S. Army. Mr. Alvin Turner is not well. He's not feeling well and was unable to attend. So Mr. Bob Turner is accepting on behalf of his father, Alvin J. Turner, U.S. Army. Thank you so much. Up next is Mrs. Lewis Culver, accepting for her late husband, Stanley Culver, U.S. Army. Mr. Stanley Culver passed away, unfortunately, on May 2nd, 2020. Your family can also come up to receive the medal. There she is coming from all the way in the back. Thank you so much, Mrs. Lewis Culver, and your husband's sacrifice, your late husband, Mr. Culver. Thank you so much. Thank you. There's your medal, and then make sure you pose for pictures. Thank you so much, Mrs. Culver. Up next, thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. Up next, Mrs. Mary DeLon, accepting for her late husband, Lloyd DeLon, U.S. Marine Corps. He passed away, unfortunately, March 23rd, 2021. So let's give a round of applause to Mrs. Mary DeLon. Thank you for your late husband's service and sacrifice. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Mary DeLon. It's a pleasure. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Sun Kim for the Korean War Veterans Association Louisiana chapter to make a few remarks.
This beautiful monument was built in 1996, and it was dedicated on the Armistice Day, just like what we're doing, on July 27, 1966. The veterans, the Korean War veterans, built this memorial, and it took them 3 years to fundraise enough funds to get this monument built. At that time, there was only that big flagpole. There was nothing else in this area. So this was the first monument that went up in this whole area. And at that time, there were 8 members that had the vision and goal to build this memorial. And unfortunately, most have passed away except for 2 gentlemen who are still with us. One is Mr. George Hunter, and he's here, but I'll introduce him in a minute. And another is Lamar Hooks, U.S. Air Force. He was sick today, so he cannot be here. But I'd like to introduce you to Mr. George Hunter, U.S. Army. He was the president of this group that built this. And this year is the 25th anniversary of building this memorial. So without this, we wouldn't have memorial service like this. So we really need to thank them for what they have done. George, please come up. George is 91 years old, and he's been married 70 years. His wife could not be here today, Dolly Hunter. She was also lady who did all the work. You know how it is. The men are in the front, the women do all the work in the back. She kept all the work, documents, paid the bills, fundraise. So she really deserves it. So the plaque has both of their names on it. Show the plaque. Come closer. That's it. That's it. Their names are on the back of the plaque there. All the committee members that built this monument. At that time, around 1996, there was a chapter, Louisiana chapter, in the National KWVA, which is Korean War Veterans Association, which is located in Illinois. They had a membership there with 19 members, and they were all from Louisiana. So anybody looking for Louisiana veteran could go into their website and find anybody. But by 2014, there wasn't enough membership, so it disbanded. So after that time, nobody could find anybody. So I worked with the National Committee and lawyers here to put us back on the map because I want people to find you guys. So we had to start new since it had been too long since the chapter has disbanded. So we have to start and write the bylaws, incorporate it, get the officers. So I'd like to today introduce you to the officers that we have. I would like to first tell you about Bill Lucy, who is lawyer that helped me get this thing going. Without him, we couldn't have done anything. And he didn't charge me anything, so he deserves a big... Come up here, stand up. Okay. So our officers are Ray Liss, President, U.S. Marine. Vice President is Les Cromwell, Air Force. Now he's the guy after the war. He joined NASA, and he's one of the guys who helped put the man on the moon. So he's a very important man. Okay. Our treasurer is Jenny Hampton. Her husband is Shelby Hampton, U.S. Marine, who passed away long ago. But Jenny has been working closely with me to get this going. And I'm your secretary. So here's our officers, and we are here to serve you.
Different job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sun Kim, and thank you for your service. The Korean War Veterans Association Louisiana chapter. Up next is our presentation of the wreath, and Mr. Charles Kingston, U.S. Marine, passed away April 5th, 2021. Please accept our condolences. And in lieu of flowers, he asked friends to donate funds to this Korean War service. We thank his family. Thank you so much. And now his son, Ken Kingston, and wife will present the wreath. And then if we could all rise for the taps. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. Well, that's going to conclude our service. I've got a couple of announcements to make before we, take pictures, as our annual is our annual tradition. Once again, wanted to just sincerely thank you so much. Mrs. Sun often tells me that many of our Korean War veterans are aging. And so she is working very hard to journal and chronicle your stories of your service and sacrifice. So we just want to thank you again for your dedication and for fighting for freedom for strangers in a foreign land. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for your families. Before we go, I want to make a couple of quick announcements here. As you walked in today, you saw that at the entrance, you saw a line of photographs. These are photographs that were taken by Mrs. Sun's son, Peter Lee, who is the founder of a social enterprise in Rwanda. Give him a round of applause. Peter, do you want to come up and say a few words about your photographs?
Sure. Hi. Sorry I'm so sweaty, but I just want to say it was an honor to get to meet some of you veterans. We went in the last 2 weeks to take photos in your home and got to see some of your families and discuss some of the stories that you taught about during your service. So for me, it was just an honor to be part of this project with my mother, who coordinated everything, and it was an honor to meet all of you that we got to take photos of, and hopefully these photos will continue to serve as memories of your service during the war, and also just a little token of our appreciation for your service. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Very talented. And you are welcome to take your pictures home with you. They are a gift from the generous Mrs. Sun Kim, her husband, Mr. Lee, and Peter Lee. So thank you. Thank you. Very talented. And if you missed a photo shoot, he will take your photo today. So bring your best smile and your pearly whites. Also, we have a special guest here today, Dr. Han Yoon Woo. He is a Republic of Korean War veteran. So if you are here, if you could stand, we'd love to recognize you. Dr. Yoon Woo, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for your service. And as our annual tradition is, we have dinner at the Mandarin Buffet. Your choice to wear masks in the restaurants, and of course that once again is sponsored by the generous Mrs. Sun Kim and her husband and her family. Please don't forget to take pictures up here at our Korean Veterans War Memorial. Thank you again for being here and sitting through the brutal sun. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you to all your families and to all your loved ones. We appreciate you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great night.
We'll see you tomorrow, I guess. And how is Millie?
I can have a tenth of that energy. Oh, fuck. Hey, Gramps. Good, Rod. Know you were coming. Uncle Dono!
If we could please have the vets come to the front, we have chairs lined